Welcome back, home sellers. As we head into the later part of the year, we're still seeing quite a few listings come on. And with new listings comes what we call iBuyers. These are companies you've heard of, OpenDoor.com, OfferPad, Zillow offers before they folded up. But there are tons of these, and many of them you have never heard of. But they operate in pockets of states or even within a state. But these are essentially giant institutional companies who have a lot of cash, who buy properties either to rent them or to flip them. But the main point for you, home seller, is that they will pounce on you at one of 2 points. So we're going to talk about those today. So if you're getting ready to sell or you're selling now, odds are you're going to hear from at least one of these companies with an offer. I want to prepare you for what to look for and maybe what to do with that offer when you see it. So stick around. I'll make sure you walk away with plenty of information and, as always, some actionable advice. Hi, and welcome to Talking Realty, the go-to podcast for home sellers looking to make more money, save time, and avoid headaches. Whether you're selling a flip, a new build, an income property, or the place you call home, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Glen Whitten, 20-year realtor and founder of the Ohio Property Group. Selling a home can be a complicated and costly process that often leaves home sellers feeling uncertain and overwhelmed. At the Ohio Property Group, we empower sellers to successfully reach the closing table while keeping more of their hard-earned money in their pockets where it belongs. To learn more, head over to talkingrealty.com to pick up our monthly newsletter or any of our free home seller tools. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show. Now, let's get to it. Welcome, home sellers. So today it's all about iBuyers, these cash buyers that come along and seemingly want to hand you a giant bag of money for your house. They usually come out of nowhere and they usually move very, very quickly. So buckle up, because I want you to have all the information you need when it happens. So in the past several years, this has become an extremely popular method of picking up real estate. I won't bother you with how things were done before, but just suffice it to say that in the 2020s, a lot of individual investors have begun to pool their money, and they start to get into large groups of investors, or they just buy shares in a company that buys real estate. Historically, real estate has increased in value, and as the population increases and things continue to evolve on the marketing front, homes have steadily become more and more valuable. With that in mind, it's a pretty safe investment. And you already know this because you're living in the real estate world. I don't know when you bought your house, but odds are when you go to sell it, it's probably going to be worth more than when you bought it. Now, that's not a guarantee, of course, but more often than not, if you wait long enough, that's what happens. The other thing that's happened is a lot of people have decided they want to rent for whatever reason. Maybe they can't buy, or maybe they just don't want to buy. Maybe they're a corporate situation where they don't want to buy because they don't know how long they're going to be there. A lot of companies are now buying property to use for executives or for employees. So there's lots and lots of reasons why these giant cash-heavy companies are coming along and picking up real estate. To that end, in the last few years, we've seen a surge of these companies. Most notably, OpenDoor is a big one. OfferPad is another one. And for a long time, Zillow was in on the game. And there have been many, many others, as I mentioned in the opening. Right here in Ohio, there's probably half a dozen companies I can name you that will fire off their offers. And typically this happens when you first list the property. We'll see a surge of these offers come in, or after it's been on the market for a little while. So it's usually day one, or maybe day 20, 25, 30. Once it starts to age out, if they're not seeing regular price reductions, these companies will try to pounce and hope that the seller is just eager to get this thing under contract. So the thing to keep in mind is very rarely are these offers market value offers. Of course, they're investors. They're not going to want to pay top dollar for your house. Zillow tried that for a little while, and we saw how that worked out not very well, in case you missed it. Zillow folded up their offers several years ago because they were relying on their world-class Zestimate, and I use that term loosely, to help them determine whether or not the property was going to increase in value enough to offset the risk. It was gambling, and they lost. So they got out of it. But there are other companies out there who are very, very good at it and have been doing this for a very long time. So when you see these offers come in, the immediate temptation is, oh my gosh, it's a cash offer. How can I turn this down? Well, when you see some of the things that they put into these contracts, you know that when a choice happens to one of these buyers, they're going to prioritize their bottom line over everything else, including breaking the contract if they have to. If their bottom line starts to be in jeopardy, it's probably going to cost you the deal. But a lot of that is beyond your control. The good news, though, the really good news is that any offer, as you've heard me say countless times on this podcast, any offer is a good offer. You can work with it. And while you're working with it, even if it doesn't come together, you can legitimately say, hey, guess what? I've got an offer. You can truthfully tell anybody who asks if that's what's happening. If somebody texts you, very often buyer agents or buyers will email you and say something like, do you have any offers? Well, first of all, that means they're probably thinking about making an offer. When you have one of these iBuyers on the line, you can legitimately and truthfully answer, yes, I do. Now, it goes hopefully without saying that you don't have to tell them where the offer came from or how good it is or how bad it is, but you take the good from that offer and you use that as leverage to either increase the low offer or ferret out one or two other offers. The other option, if you're not getting those inquiries, very bold move. We did this in an episode called Offer Deadlines, like how to use offer deadlines, is when you get one of these iBuyer offers, it's not a bad idea to just throw out an offer deadline to the market publicly because truth 11, nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer. By having an offer, even if it's not signed yet, sellers can stir up interest and potentially create urgency. Sometimes setting that offer deadline is all the nudge somebody needs because people buy on emotion. You already know this. They buy on emotion. And when they see an offer deadline, the immediate message is somebody else wants this house. So if they were even casually thinking about it, then this is going to up their interest. Maybe not to the point where they're going to give you the offer that you want, but it's at least worth a shot. Because worst case, and you'll hear this in that episode, if the offer deadline passes and you still don't have an offer that you want, you just go in and quietly remove the offer deadline from the language and get back out there. So you're no worse off either way. But using that offer, you can get back and forth with a counter, maybe shake something else out with an offer deadline. But one way or another, there's literally no downside to getting one of these offers. Now, there's plenty of downsides to taking one, and we'll talk about that here in a second. On the upside, getting one of these iBuyers, and I'm just going to kind of refer to them that way, getting one of these iBuyers to fire an offer over toward you, it's convenient. It's fast. It's usually closing in a couple of weeks or less. They typically don't want anything from your house. In fact, they want it all gone. So no haggling over belongings or furniture or even appliances many times. They don't even want them. So they just want to buy the property and then do whatever they're going to do with it, which is many times they're going to rent it out, or if it needs any work, they're going to fix it up, modernize it a little bit, and they're going to try to flip it. So that's the good side, is that you're in and out clean most of the time. The downside is that the initial offer is usually not great, and many times they are not interested in a counter offer. We just had one here just a couple of days ago. It was probably, we're talking about a $450,000 property, and we got the offer. It was probably $370,000. So they're way off the mark. Now, the property's been on the market for a few weeks. So we know that unless the seller's really hung up on that particular price, which I won't go into that, but if they are, then they're going to be waiting. So that's a reject. But if the seller's willing to come down, we know that somewhere between 370 and what they're currently asking is probably the max market value that they're going to see. So if it was my house, I would adjust. If I couldn't get it together with this iBuyer, I would start, and I couldn't get anything out of my offer deadline, I would start adjusting downward every week, continuing to run the 1-2 punch, which is lower your price midweek, announce another open house, and then wait, get through the weekend, or maybe go 2 weeks if you want, lower the price again, run it again. It's okay. There is absolutely no downside to doing it that way because all you're doing is fine tuning until you get the right market value, at which point many buyers will show up. So that's that. If you're not in a hurry and you want that number, by all means, dig in your heels and wait because eventually you'll probably get it. Another downside to these offers is they typically have a lot of fine print. So you need to really RTFC these things. So there are transaction fees, which you're not used to seeing. There's sometimes a realtor involved. OfferPad doesn't usually use realtors. In fact, they try to bait your listing agent into going as a dual agent and paying some commission to your listing agent. I get these offers all the time. I just politely decline them. We don't do commissions here. So we just tell them, no, let's just make the offer better. How about we do that? But either way, there are transaction fees, service charges, and a number of other things they could tack on that would cost you money. Essentially, they're improving their bottom line. They're just doing it slowly. Start with a lower offer. Hopefully you're interested. Then let's eat away at that with some of these other fees. And you just need to read very, very carefully. They are not working for you. They are not interested in your bottom line. They're not interested in your outcome. They are only interested in the numbers that work for them and their investors. So you got to understand that going in. These are mercenaries, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to know that as a seller. If you don't have a good listing agent looking out for you. This episode of Talking Realty is brought to you by our friends at Associates Title. This team is shaking things up by focusing on what truly matters. Get ready, putting the customer first. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing for sale by owner or working with a realtor, they've got your back with incredible cost savings and the latest technology to streamline the entire process. Their secure online portal keeps everyone in the loop, from buyers and sellers to lenders and agents, all while keeping your data safe and communications crystal clear. If you're getting ready to make a move, do not underestimate the importance of having a great title company in your corner. Check them out today at associatestitleinc.com or call my friend Ryan Phillips at 614-419-2418. Be sure to check the show notes for those links, but don't leave your title company choice to chance. Now, back to the podcast. The other thing they like to do is throw in other clauses, walkthrough clauses. They want to gauge a number of things like the flooring, the lighting fixtures, the age of the mechanicals like the roof and the HVAC. They want to look at the windows. All these things they're buried in a checklist somewhere in the offer. And many times when they start to evaluate your property with a little closer, because all these offers are coming in sight unseen. You're just getting, in fact, you don't even normally get an offer. You get what's called an email of interest. They all have their own fancy term for it, but basically it's a test. They send you a very short email. It says, hey, we want to make a cash offer on your house. Here's about what we're looking to offer you. Here's about when we can close. Are you interested? And if you say yes, then they take you to another page or another set of documents where they make it a little more official. And at that point, that's when you're looking for all the fine print. So before you sign anything, read the freaking contract because there are strings in there. I promise you. We have yet to have one of these deals come together at a price and stay at that price. It just doesn't happen. They're going to find a way to erode that price to improve their bottom line, hoping that you'll get further and further into the process and not want to stop it because maybe you've now made plans, you're ready to roll, you want to get out and get on to the next chapter. So just beware. Doesn't make them evil. This is just how they make money. So just need you to know that. So once they do the walkthrough, which is actually, I've yet to see one that doesn't have some sort of walkthrough. This happens either with a direct, they send somebody out to literally walk through your house and take pictures, or before they schedule that, some of the savvier companies will have you take a bunch of photos. They give you a very specific list of photos that you have to take and you have to submit to them through their website or through email, or somehow you need to get them these photos. That's round one. So actually, that's round two. Round one is when you're doing the offer back and forth. And believe me, they're not going to budge much, if at all, on the price that they're offering you. They may come up for a minute to get you in the boat. And then believe me, they're going to get that back plus a little more down the road. So just be cautious. But anyhow, So you'll submit the photos and then maybe they'll determine either that they want out or they're going to ask you for your first price reduction. Well, based on what you saw in the photos, we require this, this, and this. So unfortunately, we're going to have to lower our initial offer down to here. Are you still interested? If you are, great. They're not out anything if you aren't, because all they've done is send a couple of emails. You've done all the work, such as it is up to this point. And then you're going to think to yourself, well, man, all these photos are on like realtor.com and Zillow. Can't they just go look at them? It's not how it works. They want very specific photos. They want to look at them and then make determinations about whether or not they're still interested. And if so, at what price? Let's say you make it through that round and the adjustment's not too bad. The next step, or in some cases, they skip the photo step and go right to the physical walkthrough. That person is going to come through with a very large clipboard and a camera. They're going to take even more photos, maybe even some video. And they've got a giant checklist of stuff they're looking for. They're writing down everything. They're writing down every little thing that could, it's not a home inspection, but it's pretty close to a home inspection. They know what costs money and they know what to look for in terms of updating. So they're going to, unless you just painted, they're probably going to hit you for that. Oh, it needs to be painted. Unless I got all brand new light fixtures that are exactly what they want, they're probably going to tell you they need to update the light fixtures. Unless the mechanicals are brand new, they're probably going to hit you for that too. Unless the roof is brand new, probably going to talk about that. They're going to talk about stuff on the outside. They're going to talk about the windows. They're going to talk about the appliances. And every one of these is a little ding, a little dent in your bottom line, improving theirs. So to recap, they've come at you with their highest price to get you interested, and they're slowly chipping away at that number. And let's just assume that you make it to the physical walkthrough, you're going to get another email from them or some sort of document that says, listen, unfortunately, and you know where this is going, we can't offer you what we were offering you, even after the adjusted price from the photo walkthrough. Now, after we've done the closer look, unfortunately, we found some things that are going to either take us out. They may just completely get out. They have some deal breakers. And yes, they could ask you these things up front, but they usually don't. I don't know why, but I don't work for these guys, so I don't know what they do. But anyway, there's some deal breakers. So if your furnace is, say, over 20 years old, I'm making this up. I don't know. They may just say, you know what, we're out, because their charts tell them something that makes that a non-starter for them. So they're out at that point. This could also happen in the form of a checklist that they send you during the initial offer phase, where you fill it out and you tell them everything. And then the person comes through or the photo walkthrough and they verify. So either way, after each phase, you need to expect them to attempt to lower the price or get out of the deal. That's what's going to happen. So I don't want you to start packing up and moving and spending that money just because you got a deal together with them. There's a long way between here and closing. The other thing they do is, let's just say you are motivated to sell and you're okay with the numbers. They're going to start leveraging that. Once they pick up on the fact that you're in at, pretty much a lower price, they're going to start leveraging that information. Now they know that you want in. So look for more price reduction attempts and look for threats of canceling the deal. That's their go-to move. It is either we need to lower the price or we need to get out. Either you remove all the appliances or we're going to have to kill the deal. I've seen deals come down to the final walkthrough the day of closing. They're still attempting to lower the price. They're still tempting you to get more and more stuff out of that house. We had a seller a couple of years ago had a set of shelves, freestanding shelves in the basement. And there was nothing wrong with them. They were just sitting there and they had remnants of paint, like from the house with the matching colors. Now that's a very nice thing. A lot of sellers do that. It's a very cool thing to do. Every house I've ever bought, there's always a few cans of the matching color paint for the house. Well, they tried to kill the deal and kill the price. Like, well, you have to get that stuff out. And it was hours notice. You have to get it out now, or we're going to cancel the deal, or it's going to cost you several $1,000s. Like it's a 10-minute job to take that stuff out. But their thought is, hey, we're the day of closing. The seller's expecting that money. If they, for whatever reason, can't get over there, luckily this person had a nice neighbor who went over and took care of it. But if they had not had that option, they would have either lost the deal or more than likely would have eaten the several $1,000 reduction. Again, just with the overall picture is they want the best deal possible, and they're not afraid to hold you over a barrel to get it. And I hold no ill will toward these folks. They're just trying to do right by their investors. Not something you or I would probably do, but this is how it goes. They're holding all the cards. They know that. They want that house, but they want the best deal. The deal is an old phrase, and I think it was from Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy, who used to say, love the deal, not the property. Well, these folks live in that world. They don't love properties. They love deals. And the better that deal gets, the more they love it. As most of you know, we do not run paid ads for our real estate company or this podcast. We rely on good old-fashioned people talking to people, word of mouth. So if you find any of this content useful, please, will you take a few seconds, stop what you're doing, and give this show a rating. Make sure you're following the show. And if you're feeling super generous, maybe even write us a review. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I would consider it a personal favor. Let's spread the word to other home sellers. All right. Now, back to your regularly scheduled broadcast. Another thing that happens is there's usually a few weeks in between the making of the deal and the closing of the deal. If things happen in the market that have nothing to do with you, let's just say a dozen more attractive homes come on the market in their sweet spot, or interest rates do something strange, or something on one of their many, many charts starts to cause your deal to look not so great. They will, in many cases, for no stated reason, come back and tell you that unfortunately things have changed. So again, not a walkthrough, not anything they've found. They may just send this to you and say, look, things have changed. They may insert some sort of reason, but the reality is something changed outside of you, a global change. You thought you had this stable deal. You finally made it through all the rounds of renegotiation. You're good to go. You can live with the deal. And then out of the blue, they need to lower the price. It's frustrating. It is maddening. And what I'll tell you is there comes a certain point that if you can wait, if you can get out of the deal and you don't have to sell, then you probably should think hard about it. Because if you took their initial offer and now you've made it through all these price changes, frankly, you might be better off putting it on the open market again at a lower price, better than what you were getting from them, but not what you were originally asking. You could probably make a lot more money that way, but it would cost you time and you would lose I won't call it a guaranteed deal because it's not guaranteed until it's done, but the more sure deal with the iBuyer. Something to consider as you're moving through these deals is that the deal is never done. It's not done until you get your money. End of story. And there will be things on that settlement statement right before closing. I guarantee you there will be charges on there from the title company because, by the way, they control the title company. You have absolutely no say in who does title for this. I've been down this road many times. There are a couple of these companies that use title companies. Honestly, I wouldn't touch. But my seller, if they want the deal, we have no choice. We have to deal with them. And so we just deal with them. I do my best to keep the costs down. But one of the ways they make money is by owning a title company and then hitting you for fees on the seller side. Seller fees from the title company should not be in the thousands of dollars. They just shouldn't be. There's no reason in the state of Ohio to pay that much money. I'm not talking about title insurance. I'm talking about actual title search, settlement fee, and then, a few other wire fees or notary fees, whatever. Should never be in the thousands. It should be in the hundreds. And I've talked ad nauseum about title companies. So we have a sponsor who does a great job with keeping title fees reasonable for sellers. So that's another way. So they're going to hit you for their fees. They're probably going to hit you for a commission for the agent who's representing them. And they're going to collect, let's just say, a little more skin right before closing and at closing with these title fees. They're going to pay for some stuff. They'll usually pay for their own title insurance, but Everything else is going to be on you. So in case I haven't said it enough, make sure you read the freaking contract, read every addendum. They try to bury you in paperwork. So you're not just going to get the standard 10-page contract. You're going to get another 3 or 4-page addendum that overrides stuff that's in the contract. It is cloudy, murky stuff. And if you don't have an agent in your corner who really understands this stuff, they're also going to be at a disadvantage. They want the deal to come together because most listing agents don't get paid until the house sells. We're different. We're a flat fee company. So that's not my jam. But I've seen enough of these. I've seen many, many, many of these contracts, and they all have a certain amount of confusion baked into them. And maybe it's on purpose. Maybe it doesn't. I don't really know. Doesn't matter. All I can tell you is if you do not deep dive RTFC that paperwork, it will cost you money in the end. So a few other details about these buyers is that of the offers we get, probably only 1 out of maybe 10 or 15 offers we get ever turn into anything. So odds are when you get 1 or 2, and then I've had properties get as many as 5 and 6 of these from different companies in the first couple of days. And then typically if the property makes it to that 30-day mark with no price reductions, we're going to start to see them again. It might just be onesie twosies, but it is going to happen. And those offers are going to be even less attractive because they already know the house is not going to sell anytime soon for the price that you're asking. So the main thing is when that first offer comes in and you're thinking, I'm going to negotiate with these folks, they will be very polite. They're probably going to give you a range that is both higher and lower than the offer that they made. And you may be looking at that thinking, well, I should be at the high end of that market. And I mentioned this a little earlier, but just to dig a little bit deeper, when you go back to them, if by some miracle you get them to come up to the high end of the range, or even maybe go outside of that range, which is extremely unlikely. But if you get them to the top of that range, I promise you, they're going to find a way to extract all of that back before the end, because they had no intention of overpaying for this house. This is not 2021. This is not COVID, and unless something crazy happens in the next 6 or 12 months, we're not going to see that for years. Odds are. I mean, I've been doing this for 24 years, going on 25 years. I've only seen the market like we had in 2021 one time, and that was in 2021. So I've seen some good upticks. I've seen some really good seller markets, but nothing like that. Nothing at all like that. That was just crazy. So during those times, though, other than Zillow, who about went broke doing it, most of the iBuyers that were out there, they kept their cool. They knew that the prices were going up at a historically quick rate. So they were taking that into account. But at the end of the day, they weren't overpaying for properties, most of them anyway. So I'm sure a few did, but they are very good at protecting their money. You need to be equally up to the task. As you see these offers come in, go ahead and dedicate some time. Take your time. These guys aren't going anywhere. So I don't care how much they maybe pressure you to give them a response. I've yet to see one walk away until we told them to walk away. I've yet to see an iBuyer offer just completely fold up and walk away in the initial phase, because they want to learn more about you. They want to learn more about your property and your situation so they can hopefully leverage a deal that works for them. So in the beginning, that is your best time. Now, they work off of these charts and they have ranges for everything. So you may maximize a little bit, but keep in mind, if it's not a good deal for you in the beginning, it's not going to get any better. But if there are things you want to negotiate in, a closing date, for example, they want to close fast usually. But if you need more time, or in some cases, if you need to close faster, you might get some action there. If, let's say, you're waiting to close on another property so you can move out, fine. But possession after closing is almost unheard of with these folks. They don't want the liability. They want to take possession the day they close. And that's true of most buyers these days. But saying, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead and close in 2 weeks, but I need to live here for another 3 weeks or even a week so I can move out, that is not going to probably happen. They will delay closing and they do a final walkthrough, as I mentioned earlier, where they make sure that you did everything you said you were going to do, or guess what? They're going to cancel the deal or they're going to expect a price reduction. And so you absolutely have to be out and have everything that they detailed for you to be out of the house. So if they don't want your appliances, they're going to tell you, you need to figure out how to get rid of them. You can sell them on Craigslist or wheel them down to the street. I don't care, but they're not going to accept the property. If they told you they don't want the appliances, they're not going to budge on that because they know it costs time and money. And those are two things they don't waste. But the point is, maybe you can get some wiggle room on the closing date, which may help with whatever your situation is. When you get these offers, be sure to go do some back and forth. Take your time, as I said, take your time and use that time to try to find another buyer. Use the fact that you have this offer on the table to leverage more buyers. And if you've got any showings at all, go ahead and tell them, hey, we've got an offer. I'm happy to wait. Do you need time? Do you think your buyers are ready to go? This is before the showing even. Just let them know, hey, I haven't signed anything. I can probably hold them off a little bit to see, but we are negotiating something. We just haven't signed it yet. You've heard me say that before. We do have offers on the table, or we're starting to get offers. So that just kind of sends that signal out. And like I said, if you've got more showings coming, even if you've got nothing else going on, I would go ahead, set the offer deadline for a few days out, put an open house on the board, and get people in that building. Take to social media. Hey, folks, you're going to miss this thing. Let people know. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I got my first offer, or we've got an offer on our house. Blast it. Get it out there. Let the market know. See who's kind of hiding, waiting for something to happen. There may be buyers tracking your property through one of the many, many websites. You could save it. These buyers may be tracking your property, waiting for you to either reduce the price or do something that compels them to get interested. And as we say, nothing motivates a buyer like another buyer. So if you post it publicly that you're hosting an open house, and at the end of that open house is the end of the deadline. So maybe your open house is on Saturday. You could have the offer deadline on Sunday night. Get it out. Contact anybody who's ever showed it, anybody who's ever called about it, and leverage what you have, which is a bona fide offer. Maybe a stinky one, but still good for our purposes. If anybody asks you the particulars of that offer, you are going to recite the following. Naturally, I can't get into that. Just leave it at that. You don't have to tell them anything. Well, who's it from? What's it is? Did they ask for inspections? No, but you don't have to tell them any of that stuff. If there is no inspections and that benefits you, you can tell them that, but you also may scare off some buyers. I talked about this before. So I would rather just stay mute. I would rather just stay quiet on the details. Let them know you have an offer that you have not signed, and they have until this day to put up or get out of the way. Then, worst case, you get to end of all that. You don't work it out with the iBuyer. You don't get anything off of your other activity. You go in, you remove the information from the MLS, get it off all the public websites, and retrench. Me, truth number 2, if it ain't selling, it's overpriced, period. Maybe lower the price. So to wrap up, I'll tell you that these iBuyers can be a great tool for some sellers and should be viewed as just part of the larger comprehensive marketing strategy for your home to get top dollar out of your home when you sell. And with that, I will let you get back to your day. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you learned a little something, maybe had a little fun. If so, don't be afraid to share this episode with someone or maybe even on the socials. Feel free to tag me if you do. The Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by Associates Title and the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned brokerage serving all 88 Ohio counties with realtor services. By the way, if you have a question, a topic, or a guest you'd like to see on the podcast, which by the way, you can see anytime, all of our episodes are on our YouTube channel. Check the show notes. But either way, I'd love to hear from you. Just head over to talkingrealty.com and say hello. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. For the Ohio Property Group, this is Glen Whitten signing off. And remember, you can sell it. We can help.